This is lecture 11 of the course Electrical Systems in Agricultural and Biosystems Engineering. Now, the current topic in the course is on wiring. And the previous discussion focused on generation, transmission, and distribution of power. And the last topic on distribution ends at the service entrance of an agricultural land with an agricultural facility and building connected to a power supply, such as the grid. Now, discussion on the wiring will dissect the this concept or the concept of connecting the ABE system to a power source. And it's very important to first tackle the concept of safety, as it is involving the installation of wires. And primarily, okay, the building or structure or in the ABE system, first and foremost involves lives, okay, from the humans inhabiting the space, and likewise the animals that are contained in the structure or building or ABE system. Now, in terms of the wire, it is important to look into the types and also the insulation and also other parametric considerations, so that the ABE system will be meeting the requirements, okay, as needed. Okay. Before going indeed to the topic of wiring, it is important to look into safety and discussion will first, okay, discuss the concept of what the Philippine Electrical Code, which is the fundamental governing document or principles or standards that are attached to electrical installations involving different elements or equipment and the wires. Okay. Now, the different electrical operations in the farm, okay, involves equipment, okay, that is a given, and as part of mechanization. And so the PEC is also likewise adopted as a safety standard in farms or agricultural operations in agricultural lands. Now, it is important that the electrical installations be inspected and approved, okay, as part of the National Building Code. Okay, thus it is important that a signatories are okay involved, okay, from the office of the building official to the engineers that are to check, okay, the plans and likewise the as-built plans, the design plans and the as-built plans. Now, to identify electrical safety in buildings, structures, and ABS systems, and also those involving electrical systems, okay, the following symbols are attached. There's this one. This is the high voltage, and that can be a cause of death. So there is a risk of death. And there are others, such as this one, mains switch. There's danger, live wires, buried cables, okay, for underground cabling. And then there's danger for overhead cables, okay, the usual overhead cabling in the Philippines. The voltage is identified, and the very generic electrical hazard. Now, these are usually emphasized by the colors black and yellow. This is very much observable also in equipment. Okay? It's important that a an engineer be uh, drawn or uh, be alerted to these kinds of safety symbols. Again, the practice of electrical safety, okay, with regards to electrical systems is governed by the Philippine Electrical Code and the Philippine Agricultural Engineering Standards for installations in ABE systems. The Department of Labor and Employment of the Philippines has an in-depth occupational safety and health standards reference document also relating to electrical safety. It is actually available for free. And similar to any professional practice, the standards of DOLE covers all works, okay, in all establishments, excluding what? Power generating plants, the same and similar installations for broadcasting and radio, such as in radios and television stations. And lastly, for conveyances involving water transportation. And it's because there are uh, particular engineering professions involved with this. In electrical safety, it is foremost important to consider regulations, and here the words installation and approval comes into play. Okay, in electrical installations in the farms are covered by the agricultural and biosystems engineering practice, and approval of such installations is very much important. Now, plans should be drawn according to design load calculations and specifications. These are going to be discussed much later in the course. And likewise, the wiring specifications are required and to be dealt in the next succeeding lecture. The plans will, or the design plans will be implemented, and the output installation would need inspection and certification. Coverage of the practice, okay, coverage of the practice for farm electrification begins at the service entrance for the ABE practice, okay? And from the feeder lines at the service drop from the electrical utility to provide electricity. In works involving electricity, here are the general tips to ensure safety, okay? We have here 7 tips, okay, safety tips on electrification, and we start with the very basic. Okay, first is to avoid uh, water at all times when working with electricity, and we know that water is a good conductor of electricity, and um, the most important thing is to avoid it. Okay? Never also try to touch or repair any uh, electrical equipment or circuits with the hands wet, because what? Water, it increases the conductivity of electric current. Next is never use equipment with frayed cords, damaged insulation, or broken plugs. It is always best to check the building electrical plan before working on any circuit. If working on any receptacle in a building, then it's always important to turn off the mains panel. It is also a good idea to put up a sign on the service panel so that nobody turns on the main switch by accident. It is always important to insulate the tools during working operations. Electrical hazards include exposed energized parts and unguarded electrical equipment, which may become energized unexpectedly. Such equipment always carries warning signs. I've shown as was shown a while ago. The sign shock risk. Always be observant of such signs and follow the safety rules established by the electrical code, followed by the country uh, where that where the location is. It is always appropriate to use insulated rubber gloves and goggles while working on any branch circuit or any other electrical circuit. It is advised to never try repairing energized equipment and to always check that it is de-energized first by using a tester. Uh, this is an example of a tester. This is an example of a tester that doesn't require a probes. Okay, this is a volt pen, and when there's a when there's electricity in a system, okay, this sounds off. There's a sound that comes off from this device. Another thing is to never use aluminum or steel ladders because, again, metals are good conductors of electricity. And if one is in uh, going to work on receptacles at a certain height in the ceiling, okay, or at a certain location that is above ground, then there's a possibility of electrical surge grounding the person who is working on that receptacle. It is best to use alternatives such as um, materials made up of wood or plastics. Now, there are other safety tips, and one, for example, is to know the um, the exact war code of a country, and this could be just looked up over at the internet. But for the basics, okay, these are very much already handy in working with wires in ABE systems such as structures and buildings. The next discussion will cover uh, the wires, okay, and their uh, characterization or description, okay, because each wire, okay, would be different from each other. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next lecture.